Daddio 2023. This was an interesting film that I'd not heard about before, and it's a simplistic concept. It's effectively two characters and a conversation that mainly takes place in a New York yellow cab. So there's Dakota Johnson's character, and she's just called Girly. Now, I don't know why. I guess she is very stereotypically feminine, and she shows anger in a very measured way. It's mainly through her conversation and holding back. And it's understandable because it's conversation with a man, and many women will hold back and not be forthright in their opinions when talking with a man because of the dynamics at play, simply because it can be very dangerous. Now, Gurley arrives at the airport in New York, I think it's JFK, and she gets to the pickup point, and yeah, American airports are very different from those in the UK. The car transportation is designed very much into all of the American airports I've seen, especially Los Angeles, PDX, that's Portland, Seattle. They all seem to have pick up and drop off points, and you just go straight to the terminal. You get dropped off by someone, go rushing in with minutes to spare. So the same applies for pickup. She just gives the details to airport clerk, who assigns the ride, and the taxi cab that picks her up is driven by Sean Penn's character, whose name is Clark. And to start with on the journey, they're not very talkative. I mean, she's like checking her phone, he's driving. She does look up occasionally, and they do start to chat. And because he establishes she's from New York, she's a New York City girl. She's not born and bred in New York, she's from Oklahoma, but she is what he describes as, does he use savvy or streetwise, something like that. He's very complimentary towards her. He says how refreshing a change it is to not have someone glued to their iPhone for the whole journey, because she does look up and gives eye contact and talks to him. I've had 7 journeys by taxi in recent weeks, and so I talked to practically all the cabbies, and they're all black cabs that I got in. I find Uber difficult, so I just hailed black cabs. I didn't use the company who was available, but hailing the cab was very easy, and I talked with them for 90% of each of the journeys on average. And this is what Gurley does when she's riding in this fare with Clark. And she finds out a lot about him, he finds out a lot about her. They talk about things like relationships. It gets quite in depth. It's really interesting. But in some ways, it's also what I find is icky, simply because it is cis and straight. There's the observations, often from Clark, about the way men are, straight men are, and they're often cheating on women. It seems like his experience, his worldview is like that. He's very honest about his experience. We've seen Gurley on her iPhone sending messages, and it's quite clear it's with a man who might be manipulating her to some extent. And to some extent, she's resigned to it. She knows this is what's happening. She says at one point, "Tell me something new." They have this sort of game of telling each other stories about their own experiences in relationships, and with some really poignant stuff outdoing each other by the nature of the story. So they have to accept whether the story is worth a point, and they sort of build up points against each other in a very playful way. A lot of it is about breakup of relationships as well, and about the way a lot of men are when they cheat and manipulate women. And this is where Dakota Johnson's understated anger really shines through, and I thought she was absolutely brilliant. She knocks it out of the park. And I thought Sean was also absolutely excellent. He's really good as the wise, cracking cabbie. He's seen everything. He's talked to everyone. He's like offering his service as a free counsellor, although he'd like obviously a generous tip, so it's not exactly free. I mean, he moaned so much about how everyone pays by card these days or their phone. They tap their phone contactless. And so tips don't tend to emerge very much. There's so many similarities between the yellow cab and the black cab in London. The same sort of threats about how cabbies in London and New York feel like they're a dying breed. It is quite understandable when there's all the competition out there. Soon there will be driverless cars. Whether AI will be providing the AI version of counselling that's talked about. There's a lot in this film, and of course, at one point, because you think the journey into Midtown from JFK, would that be a film's worth of dialogue and that length, about 97, 98 minutes? Would that actually be a film's worth? I don't know. Well, there's what Clark calls a fender bender, or it's more serious than that. It's like an overturned vehicle, quite a bad crash. So that holds them up for a long time. And of course, they rubberneck a little bit. And I thought that might play a part in the story. And you get to wonder what might be in store from all this dialogue, whether something dramatic might happen. There's Gurley's older sister. When Gurley was 6 and her sister was 17, they leave home, leave her dad. And the whole thing is father-daughter relationship. That's where the title Daddio comes from. There's possible misremembered people seeing things a different way. And Gurley talks about her sister denying that something happened. But her sister raised her, not exactly legitimately, but she did bring her up. So there's this whole imagine a kidnapping scenario and she had to break out. Like some strange stories in this film. She would tie her up. But I was thinking, wow, is this going to happen now? Because at one point, Clark has to leave the cab. So there's all these moments that could be tense or maybe not. But the concentration is on the dialogue, and it's dialogue heavy all the way through. Now, I kind of like these sort of films. I've seen a few of them. I've seen one in LA, I can't remember its name, but involves a lot of travelling around the LA freeway system. You sort of focus on the dialogue, but sometimes I think, oh, where's that? Oh, have I come across that place? Oh, right, this is where they're going through a tunnel into Midtown. So there's a lot happening, and I thought it was a really interesting, fun film. Very, very simplistic, but it kept my attention. I'm going to score it 8.5 out of 10. I liked both their acting very much. And there's an LGBT angle. One of the characters who's talked about, but it is largely how men behave, how women behave. And that is interesting because we live in that world. I'd love to know what you think about this film if you've seen it. Thanks for subscribing. Please like if you like this review. Hope to see you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.